NFL free agency starts on Wednesday, but teams can start talking to players as early as Monday. Let's take a look at where I think all the top free agents are going to land. Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Monday, I'll be doing my live call-in show. It's the first day of the legal tampering period, so make sure you call in and tune in for that. I'm going to be giving away a shirt like I always do on every Monday. And then Tuesday night with Gangrene David, Matt O'Leary, and Green Bean, we're going to be doing our Talking Jets panel, but we're going to be doing a 2-hour-long special for that, and we're going to be taking phone calls as well. So we're going to get into all the NFL free agent news on those 2 days, so make sure you hit the little reminder button. I'll link those down in the description down below. Let's get right into it. I want to talk about some of these free agents and where I think they could wind up landing. First, let's go with Byron Jones, the cornerback from the Cowboys. Now, I think the Cowboys really have a lot of their troubles wrapped up in Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott. So Byron Jones is probably more than likely going to be leaving. Now, in terms of the way I think of a lot of things, if I leave a team or if I leave a company, there is a natural tendency to want to go to that team's competitor. So I see Byron Jones wanting to stay in the NFC East. I think he goes to either the Eagles or the Giants. I think both those teams make a lot of sense. The Eagles had a terrible secondary, where the Giants also have Jason Garrett. So there could be some sort of familiarity there, but I think he stays within the NFC East. So one of those two teams, that's going to be my prediction there. James Bradberry, I've said this before on a few of my other videos. I think with Ron Rivera going to Washington and Josh Norman getting cut going to Buffalo, I think Bradberry follows Rivera into Washington and replaces Josh Norman as their corner. So Bradberry to Washington, that's where I think he's going. Jadeveon Clowney is a little bit interesting. I think the Giants could be in play for this, but I've heard rumors that they want to go after Kyle Van Noy, a little bit cheaper of an option. Clowney has a lot of penalties and a lot of time missed on the field, so I think you're going to have to look and see where he goes in terms of like a really high salary cap team. So I'm going to predict the Colts here. I think they could use an edge rusher. They have Justin Houston, I think, under contract for another year. But adding Jadeveon Clowney, they're in a win-now mode, and you'll see some of my other moves that I make later on in this video that sort of kind of pan out, I think, in this thought process. So Jadeveon Clowney to the Colts, that's where I sort of see that happening. Jack Conklin, I think, is going to go to the Giants. He's going to go there to protect Daniel Jones and increase the production level of Saquon Barkley. Jack Conklin was the right tackle for the Tennessee Titans. He led the way for Derrick Henry this past year, graded out very well as a run blocker. I could definitely see him going there. The Giants have like $80 million in cap space, so I think they rope in an offensive lineman here to help their young quarterback. Sticking on the topic of young offensive linemen, I want to talk about Joe Thuney, the guard from the New England Patriots. The Patriots are obviously trying to work out something with Tom Brady, and they also have a few other free agents that they're going to be kind of preoccupied with. I think Joe Thuney stays within the AFC East with similar reasons to the way that Byron Jones is staying in the NFC East. I think the Jets and Bills are probably the two most likely destinations for Thuney. The Bills could use an upgrade at guard and have a lot of money. They have close to $100 million in cap space. The Jets are sitting at about $50 million in cap space right now, but they need help across the entire offensive line. So I could see them throwing a bucket load of money at him. I could see Thuney going to Buffalo because they have a more ready-to-win now franchise than the Jets do. The Jets have a lot of pieces they need to add. So I think Jets or Bills probably make the most sense for Joe Thuney, but definitely staying within the AFC East, in my opinion. In terms of the wide receivers, I'll talk about Amari Cooper first, and this kind of goes back to the Colts being in a win-now mode, and I think that's where he could wind up. I think Dak Prescott is ultimately going to get franchised by the Cowboys. He has them over a barrel right now. They're not going to risk losing him just to tag Amari Cooper. So Amari Cooper is going to wind up walking free because of this whole situation. I think he goes to the Colts. They're trying to win now, and I'll get into the quarterback situation in a little bit for what they could possibly do. Robbie Anderson is the other big wide receiver free agent, and obviously us Jet fans know him real well, and I think the two most likely destinations for him are probably going to be the Jets and the Dolphins, and here's why. The Dolphins are close to home for Robbie. Robbie grew up and went to Plantation High School, which is about a half hour from Miami, so I could see him going back there. He played with Ryan Fitzpatrick in New York, so there's a little bit of a connection there. He doesn't have the state income tax. They have a ton of money to pay him, so I could see him landing in Miami. But there's also been reports over the last few days that Robbie Anderson and the Jets have mutual interest in bringing him back, and with the Jets sort of figuring out that the market is not going to be as strong for Robbie Anderson due to the wide receiver draft class that's coming out that's completely loaded. The Jets may wind up getting their number one wide receiver back on a way more reasonable deal than we had initially thought. He originally wanted $13 to $15 million. And I think you're starting to see a little bit of desperation out of Robbie Anderson because he's bringing up more that there's mutual interest between the Jets and him. And he also brought up that he wouldn't mind and it would be a dream come true to play with Tom Brady. And I think that is the ultimate tip of your hand. I think he definitely wants to scare the Jets into thinking that he could go to New England possibly if Brady stays there. But I think he could come back to the Jets. I'm going to say he comes back to the Jets contract-wise. I don't know. I've been saying 4 years, $12 million a year. It's $1 million a year more than what Tyrell Williams got to be the number 2 receiver in Oakland last offseason. Remember, Antonio Brown was traded to Oakland, so when Tyrell Williams signed, he was the number 2. So I think Robbie Anderson could come back to the Jets or could go to the Dolphins. Those are kind of my 2 finalists in that sort of realm. I want to get into the quarterbacks now. This is going to be a very interesting topic, I think, not so much for the Jets, but just, for the NFL landscape overall. What we're seeing is a very high amount of good quarterbacks hitting the market both in the draft and in free agency, which is only going to help the NFL. If you have a lot of good quarterbacks, it's going to start driving down the price of the quarterback market and help pay other players a little bit more. I think teams really want that. I think the NFL really wants that because nothing hurts an NFL franchise more than just having really terrible quarterback play. So let's start out with the big fish, the one that's going to impact the Jets the most, and that's Tom Brady. And a lot of people are still kind of on the bandwagon of he's going to stay in New England with Belichick, but I think there was really a rift between them. The whole Garoppolo thing, 2 years ago now, was I think really showed a lot. I think Tom Brady wants to prove that he can win without Bill Belichick, and I think he has the perfect opportunity with Mike Vrabel in the Tennessee Titans. I think he wouldn't mind moving to Nashville. It's a very nice area. I tossed and turned on this a little bit. I consider the Chargers with him wanting to push his LA brand, TB12, or introduce it into the LA brand, similar to how LeBron James left Cleveland to go to LA, kind of set up his mogul stage, as Cowherd sort of says it. But I don't know if Brady wants to play in front of what could be a very empty stadium for the Chargers. Remember, the Rams are really the LA team of choice. The Chargers are just kind of transplants there. I think Tom Brady goes to the Titans. He has a top run game. He has good wide receiver options. The offensive line is very good, and that defense is no joke. Plus, he's really good friends with Mike Vrabel. He gets the opportunity to play against the Patriots in 2 years. So I could see a 2-year contract here. And if he winds up beating the Patriots next year, then he would be one of, I believe, 4 players to beat every single NFL franchise. So I think that's kind of where he's looking to go, somewhere where he can play the Patriots within the next 2 years, because I don't believe he's going to play too much longer than that. Now, if Tom Brady goes to the Titans, that's going to leave a hole at quarterback for the New England Patriots. So what are they going to do? I think they're ultimately going to look towards the draft, but I think you could see them look to make some sort of trade for Andy Dalton. And I think Dalton is a perfect sort of bridge quarterback. He's not going to shake the boat or rock the boat too much. His contract, if traded, is going to be $17.5 million. Tom Brady, in his career, has only been paid more than that twice, so I think money-wise it makes more sense than maybe a Tannehill. Tannehill, on the other hand, I could see him going to New England, but I think he might command a little bit more money than what Andy Dalton's getting there. I could see Tom Brady, Titans, and then Andy Dalton to New England, which ultimately leaves the whole Ryan Tannehill question. And this is where this whole trifecta sort of possibly works out. I'm looking at all these other teams, and I don't really see a good spot for Ryan Tannehill other than going back on a relatively cheap deal to the Titans. But I'm looking at the Bengals, and I think they're definitely taking quarterback at number 1, but having a 1-year type of prove-it deal with Tannehill, I think, is an option where you don't necessarily have to have the Andy Dalton mentor in front of him. I think there's more of a competition maybe with Tannehill. This is probably my weakest argument of the quarterback list as far as I'm concerned. I'm not exactly sure where Tannehill lands, but I'm going to say Bengals for now. I wanted to say Chicago to put some pressure on Mitch Trubisky, but they are pretty tight against the cap. If they wanted to cuddle a bunch of players, I could see the Bears. The Bears are probably where I would want to peg him to go, but I don't know if they'll make enough cap space for that. Dak Prescott, I mentioned it earlier. I think he's going to get franchised. He has the Cowboys over a barrel right now. They're not going to let their quarterback walk out the door unless they pay him a ton of money. If they pay him a ton of money, then they'll franchise Amari Cooper and, have at it. But I think I think Dak got to see what happened with Kirk Cousins, and it's really a smart option for quarterbacks, and I wish quarterbacks would do it a little more often, and that's take the franchise tag at least for a year. The new collective bargaining agreement is going to get agreed upon in the next, it could be soon, but it could be in the next year. And that new agreement is going to guarantee more money for the players. So if Dak takes the franchise tag now, his contract next year is going to be significantly higher than what he's going to get this year, while also getting a top-paid quarterback contract on the one-year guaranteed deal now. And since quarterbacks are so healthy and so well protected in the NFL, I think this is a lower risk. Yeah, you could always wind up getting something like Alex Smith, and that would definitely suck. That is like the worst-case scenario. But with that offensive line and Zeke Elliott, I think Dak's going to be just fine playing on the franchise tag. Phillip Rivers is an interesting one for me because I could see him retire. He did buy the house in Florida, so people are going to connect him maybe with Tampa Bay. I think he's going to go to the Colts. He has the connection with their offensive coordinator, Nick Sirianni. He worked with him for 5 years with the Chargers, so I think there's a familiarity there. He wouldn't have to pick up a brand new system. And I think the Colts are in a win-now mode. So if you can get Rivers for maybe 2 years, try to go all in on that playoff push, Super Bowl push, I think that would make a lot of sense for them. I mentioned Tampa Bay. So let's talk about where they could potentially go. They have Winston currently, but he's obviously not getting franchise tag, I don't think at least, and he's going to hit the open market. So they could bring back Winston. I think they probably go with Teddy Bridgewater. I really like Teddy Bridgewater a lot. Todd Bowles obviously brought him into the New York Jets. Todd Bowles is the defensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians also has some work that he has done with knee-injured quarterbacks in Carson Palmer. So I think Teddy Bridgewater has a little bit of peace of mind knowing that Todd Bowles wanted him initially and that the head coach who has worked with Carson Palmer in the past and made that work very successfully, especially with the weapons around him, is going to be a very key part of this whole situation. The knowledge that they're going to gain from Teddy Bridgewater. So the Saints, obviously, is where Teddy Bridgewater played last year. Tampa Bay is in the same division. I could see some insider knowledge kind of getting swapped around. This is that whole stay within the division type of thing. The other area people have kind of talked about was maybe the Bears, where he could go against the Vikings again. But I think Tampa Bay is probably better suited for Teddy right now. And I think the non-income tax state is probably going to help as well. That leaves Winston, and where I think he could possibly go, I think I see him going to the Chargers, and this is sort of a curveball for me because I had the Chargers taking a quarterback at the top of this draft, and it concerns me as a Jet fan because if they take Winston on as their quarterback to try and win now, they have maybe a little bit of pressure that could be taken off of him with Eckler signing his long-term deal. He's got a 4-year contract now. They have some pretty good weapons on the outside. The defense is stout. I think you have a high-risk, high-reward type player in Winston, and then maybe you roll your dice on a quarterback either next year or the year after that. I think what are they picking, 6 right now? If they're picking number 6, I could see them go tackle. So there's a real scary chance as a Jet fan that the Giants could go tackle at 4, the Chargers go tackle at 6, then you have the Cardinals, the Jaguars, and the Browns that could all wind up going with an offensive lineman as well. So this is a little bit nerve-wracking for me, but I think I could see this happening, especially since the Chargers just traded away their left tackle to the Panthers for a guard, so they would be in prime position to land one of the top tackles in this draft. Guys, let me know where you think some of these players are going to land. Am I totally off my rocker? I'm sure I missed some big players out there. These are just kind of the big ones that I wanted to hit. Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to tune into our live streams on Monday and Tuesday night. They both start at 8 o'clock. Call in. Have a lot of fun with us. Going to be giving away some shirts if you want to win the Sam Adams shirt. Kind of cool. I like it. Aside from me, having it on the store. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And as always, go Jets.